Hey guys, this is Cam15 and I'm back at it with another video for you guys. And this is another My Hero Academia manga chapter review. And this is where, man, we get the backstory. We finally get the backstory. I don't think it's a complete backstory, but it's a backstory of Toya, Todoroki, and a little bit of a backstory about Hawks as well. And then, people called it. I was late to the party in terms of finally realizing who it was. Best Jeanist is finally back. And we're definitely going to get the climax, the climax of this arc, or the end of it is coming. It just is, I don't know. It's gonna get here a while because after this chapter, we're going on another 2-week break, which won't happen until the day after, surprisingly, my birthday, November 29th. But yeah. Anyways, let's get into this. Now, the backstory starts off in Endeavor's monologue of his recalling of past events. He goes on to say, the winds of winter howled that day, and the air was dry. In the past, I used to train up on Sikoto Peak, and it was there that Toya burned to death. Okay. So, obviously there was something, that happened, where, Toya went up there, and apparently he burned, and Endeavor thought he died. Also, in the meantime, on the same panel, they show a younger Toya Todoroki. So, anyways, they say his Endeavor's monologue continues by saying, they say the fire burned out at over 2,000 degrees Celsius. The body was never found. His bones were reduced to ash, and the blaze updraft scattered them to the winds. Only a fragment of his lower jawbone was found, which is freaking crazy and freaking like, dang, what did he do? And yet, at the time, they kept. And then we get into, flashback stuff. Endeavor asked Toya, what'd you do? Your hair is turning white, which, the funny thing is, there were a lot of manga readers who watched the anime and were like, wait, I thought I recall Toya Todoroki's hair in backstories when they showed him in the backstories. Earlier in the anime of My Hero Academia, he had red hair. Well, there's your explanation of why he has white hair now. I'm guessing it just changed on its own. So, yeah. I found it funny how Endeavor was like, did you dye it? And he's like, no, I don't even want to do this and stuff like that. I don't want to look like an old man. That's what Toya was saying. Now, he goes on to, Endeavor's thoughts goes on to say, my eldest Toya didn't harbor frost within him. And at the same time, you obviously have Toya who's happy. He wants Endeavor to teach him an ultimate move and stuff like that. He goes on to say, but the fire he possessed was greater than my own. Now here in the backstory, even throughout this backstory of this chapter, it seems like, let's be honest, it seems like, Endeavor was, he looked like he was pretty content. Like he was actually being, maybe a fairly decent dad, even though he wanted what he wanted. But I think I have a reason why, because I know there's gonna be a lot of people who are like, well, we saw the backstory, but we didn't see Endeavor lose his nuts or go insane where he's literally, abusing his family. We might get a chapter where he finally does it, but I think I'll explain at the end of the chapter my thoughts on, where I think Endeavor might have went full abusal mode and full coldness on his family. And no, pun was entirely not intended. Endeavor goes on to say in his head, as we're recalling the backstory and stuff like that, he didn't have a way to overcome the inescapable downside of overheating, but I nevertheless sought to raise that boy to be a hero. So he wanted to raise Toya as a hero, even though it wasn't the son he truly wanted. Okay, so again, makes the mention that it seems like Endeavor was actually somewhat of a decent guy in the past, even though he was still crazy. As going on, he says, meanwhile, I still yearn for a child whose quirk combined fire and ice. I don't know. My dog is barking. Anyways, he goes on to say, my wife wanted more children, saying they could encourage each other, which is very interesting. So even Rei Todoroki, you know, who was really forced into marriage, was fine and okay. And like, if you want another child, okay, let's have this another child. So you can definitely see that something definitely went wrong where Endeavor lost it completely. Because he goes on second to saying that Fuyumi was his second born, and she only inherited Rei Todoroki's quirk. He goes on to say, neither child bore the ideal quirk I was hoping for, but at the time I was happy all the same, because Toya had more potential than me. I placed my ambitions on his shoulders. And then he says, I thought it could be you. You could have been the one to reach my eternal goal. My frustration, my envy, the ugliness in my heart. You could have been the one. And also in the meantime, after, yet Toya used one of his fire attacks, but you see that, a piece of his arm was kind of burnt, mostly because his fire was definitely hotter than Endeavor's and stuff like that. And like I said, the last few things I read where it said, my frustration, my envy, the ugliness in my heart, you could have been the one. And I just have a feeling, which I'll explain at the end of the video, my thoughts, but I think it had something to do after the fact that Natsu was born, is when he started to go crazy and stuff like that. Anyways, Endeavor, it cuts back to the present, and Endeavor's like, this is a lie. This is all true. Toya's dead. But Dabi's like, I even saw this thing. I don't know if I should call him Dabi or Toya. I'm just gonna call him Toya for now. Unless he wants to strictly be known as Dabi. But Toya's like, well, that's actually, no, I'm right here, Dad. I'm right here, ready for the killing and stuff like that. So, and he goes on to say, because you put a whole agency together of fire and heat type quirks, you didn't even suspect me. And now the other League of Villain members, they're talking about how this is a shock to them. And they're like, oh, dang, he never told us about this and stuff like that. Well, everybody else except Toga, who still is yet to get there yet and stuff like that. Toya goes on to say, don't believe me? I'm happy to donate some blood or a hunk of skin. Go ahead and DNA. But in the same time, you see the broadcast he's doing on like every broadcast in Japan, I'm guessing. And he's already had the results on there and he's showing it like, you want to prove it? You guys don't, if you civilians don't believe me, well, here's the blood results test. And it matched out to a 99% match between the DNA sample of me and Endeavor's blood in the Battle of Kyushu. He goes on to say, and this is the Dabi talking on the TVs on media, essentially saying, still, I'm sure many of you believe this to be an elaborate hoax, so I'll just have to convince you otherwise. After that Endeavor made sure Mom kept having kids, the fourth was someone who you are familiar with. I think, yes, at long last, little Shoto was the successful creation, and he even abused that successful creation. I've seen him do it many times, which is very freaking interesting. So, does that mean when Toya was still? Oh well, yeah, Todoroki was still there when Toya was there before. I guess you could say, his fake death and stuff like that. But okay. Also, they pan over to Fuyumi and Natsu. Natsu seems like he's in class watching this all off his phone, and Fuyumi doesn't know what the hell's going on because it seems like she's teaching a class and somebody's calling her, saying like, hey, could you come in first thing because I think you might need to hear this. Okay. My only question to this is, there's a huge crisis going on in your country. You would think they would shut the schools down. I'd be like, do not come to school. There's a huge major crisis. That's just me, look at us. We're going to school even though it's online in a pandemic, during a pandemic. But I guess you could say this is a war, so I wouldn't know if schools were going on back in those times. Say if there was like a World War I or World War II. But it is interesting that I'm like, because I'm reading the chapter, I'm like, why are they in school? Why is she teaching? Why is he going to school in this crisis? You cannot tell me this huge war thing isn't getting out of hand like crazy. But then again, that's before Gigantomachia literally wrecked almost every dang, city and town to get to Shigarashi. The Dobby on the screen says, Endeavor doesn't have an empathetic bone in his body. At his core, he's addicted to the limelight, a man who wallows in his own small-mindedness and self-importance. Is that the sort of person who should call himself a hero? Same time, you look at something that says, you see some social media stuff. Now, we covered the kid way back from, the arc or the last episode of season 4 when Endeavor was in Hawks' town when it came to defeating that Hayanomu hood. And you just see him and his buddies like saying like, there's no way this is true. Like, there is no way, like, he goes in to say, he's like, who would believe this stuff? Like, people are not going to lose their faith in the heroes. And he's like, we're not that stupid, man. Oh yeah, great. So, and then that's when, I think you can say might be really the end of Hero Society as we know it, especially after this. And I think also this next hero is going to take a hit, like huge. So the dog on the screen goes on to say, those who keep company with Endeavor are no different. Take Hawks, the number 2 hero, and they show, by perfect editing, they show the death of twice. And they have it on screen twice. And you have the same kid like, what the hell? And stuff like that. And you just, you just have it to where it was freaking, where they show the death of twice on screen and they show Hawks killing him. And I think this is gonna take Hawks' little thing down a notch, because they're gonna be like, why did you kill that villain? And then 2, I think, well, this definitely might have just killed Hero Society as we know it. Great. Because, you gotta add up all the destruction that happened to a whole city. Like, they're gonna be like, what? So, my God, this is really freaking bad and stuff like that. So it cuts back again to the present, and it says, this is my present. Toya says, this is my present to you, Endeavor. See, I did some digging into that Hawks filthy spy. And he goes on to say, in order to curry favor with us, Hawks even killed a hero, the number 3 hero, in fact, who was recuperating. He killed Best Jeanist. And this is the Toya Todoroki that's talking on the broadcast. So now he even said that Best Jeanist is dead now. We know that by the chapter, Best Jeanist is alive. And obviously, maybe some members of the public are going to see that. But still, it's going to be like, well, it don't matter whatsoever. You have a hero assisting alongside the dang villains for some case. Carrying out that murder didn't ruffle his feathers in the slightest, since violence is already so ingrained in his lifestyle. And it's really no wonder, since his own father was a serial and murderer, a villain, which is exactly why Hawks' background and real name were kept a secret. Which, okay, big revelations. So, Hawks had a dad who was essentially a crazy person, like a serial killer, and he went the opposite side of what his dad went and he became a hero. We do know he was in that agency, what it seems. Anyways, going back, it says it was Endeavor who captured his father. Actually, maybe it was a connection and some sort of twist of fate that brought these men together. So that's another interesting point. Endeavor was the one that captured Hawks' dad. He goes on to say, I couldn't let that stand. These twisted people with skeletons in their closets, they cover it all up with masks of justice. But they don't stop there. They call themselves heroes and keep fooling everyone. I just want everyone to stop and think. The only ones these heroes protect are themselves, with all that ugliness inside. They use you people to give them protection, approval, admiration, and he's just telling the people on the broadcast, look, they're just using you. They're using you to get popular. They're using you to make money. They're using you to do all this and that, and they only care for themselves, which are some heroes, not all heroes. Like, we know in case of a Deku, some heroes are like that. They're selfish, and they do things for their own selfish reasons. They become heroes for their own selfish ways, which freaking, you could say, sucks. And they cut back to the kid, and it says, his buddy says, can't you see, kid? This is bad news. By speaking out, he's already won. Whether he's lying or not, that question's for later. He might be a villain, but people are going to lose faith over this. I hate to say it, but me too. I'm sorry, especially with all this damage and destruction. Which, I think we can now say, Hero Society has ended, and the people's opinions have definitely now lost faith with these heroes and the faith in Hero Society. Even though, like the dude said, it might be a lie at the end of the freaking day. But listen, we can't defend this. Look at this destruction that happened. They said they're supposed to keep us safe, but guess what? There's destruction. Anyways, that's when, and then the kid ends up saying anyone who witnessing all this would have to be stupid not to lose faith, right? Which, as bad as crazy as it seems, he's not wrong. He goes, now, Toya jumps down, and he's like, thank you for going all this way for me. Now I'm gonna kill y'all. Hold on a second. Okay, back. Anyways, it goes on Endeavor's monologue. He says, at the time, I kept searching for you. I didn't believe you were dead. And at the same time, Dabi's flying down. Toya's flying down to try to attack them. And Todoroki's like, yo, Dad, you need to wake up. You need to snap out of this. Forget it. Protect Midoriya. Protect the others. Get them out of here. Me, Nejire, will take care of this whole nonsense, and we'll fight these villains and stuff like that. And he's telling like, yo, forget this right for now. We can talk about this later. We have to protect these guys. Now, it seems like Dabi's going to do a move called Flash Fire Prominence, I guess, Burst. And it looks like it would be a huge explosion. So that would have been crazy. And you see Bakugo and Deku look up, and they're like, holy shit, we're screwed. But then that's when these cables show up, wrap Toya around. And that's when we see that Best Jeanist is back, and he's ready to, I guess you could say, make this arc be into its climax. That's the end of the chapter. The next chapter won't release till November 29th, which, holy crap, that is 2 weeks away, the day after my birthday. And yeah, but other than that, it was a really good chapter. My God. Jesus, now, they didn't really dive into Hawks' backstory, but they might do that in the future. See his upbringing. But the whole stuff, Toya, stuff like that. Okay. How Endeavor, because like I said earlier in this review, Endeavor seems to be chill. He seems to be like, he seemed to be fine and cool with the fact that, oh, I have a kid now. I have 2 kids now. I'm happy. Even though it's not what I want, I'm still happy. I think when Natsu was born and he saw that Natsu only comes with the fire quirk, I believe. I forgot what quirk he has. I don't know if it's his ice quirk or the fire quirk. I think after when Natsu was born and found out that he didn't have a combination of fire and ice, that's when, Endeavor's like, how many times do I have to keep making kids for it to get the right one? This is my 3rd child and it didn't work. And I think that's when he went into his whole thing where he started to abuse his family. He became cold to Rei Todoroki. He started to abuse her into making Todoroki, totally neglected his other kids and didn't give a crap about them, and I guess you can say hurt and abused them as well. And then one of the time he got Shoto, you know, he was already, you know, in this stage where all he cared about was trying to overthrow All Might. So he put so much, you know, and plus that coldness in his heart was already there. So by the time Shoto was born and was old enough to actually start doing some training, he didn't treat him like a real son. He treated him like a son under, essentially you could say, under his, you know, dictator's rule, essentially. And, you know, that's when I guarantee you probably saw the change and stuff like that. Now I'm guessing maybe Toya Todoroki, I'm guessing, what happened is Toya Todoroki went up to that mountain. I guess he tried to do the ultimate move, ended up burning that mountain in the forest, and he ended up getting caught in it. And essentially it made it look like, oh, he actually died, but he somehow got out of there. Someone somehow found him, you know, at least healed him to the point where, you know, he wasn't burned into not ashes. And yeah, so I think that's where it is. So for people wondering, why is Endeavor like so content? Is Horikoshi trying to retcon something or something? No, I think after Natsu was born, I think that's when he had that whole mindset where he was just an abusive person. Because I don't want to say put it in his perspective, but let's be honest, put it in his perspective. This is his third child. He wants what he wants, and if this is his third child, like, what are you gonna? You can't keep having freaking babies. There's only so much, you know, a girl can have of making kids, and even to the extent of a girl wanting to have kids. Like Ray could have been like, no, I'm done having kids. Like I enjoy the kids we have now, and stuff like that. It was also another interesting point that Endeavor did want to raise Toya as a hero, but sadly that backfired, and because of his abusiveness, it essentially turned him into a villain. Now we know why Natsu hates him, and now it seems like that Natsu is seeing his brother off his phone. God, who knows how Natsu's gonna feel. And like I said, the jig is out on terms of the Hero Society. The jig is up, and now you're gonna have people like literally be like, we can't trust these guys anymore. They literally couldn't protect us in a need of most. Yes, did they nullify the villains? Did they stop him? Then again, at the same time, he's like, but what about Hawks? He killed one of them. So things are getting crazy, man. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys in the next video, or November 29th for the next My Hero Academia manga chapter review. And yeah, so if you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on this manga chapter review. Anything that you still have questions about, that you think will get answered in the future, and what could happen next. I definitely do think the manga chapter will be ending. I said last week, I predict the manga chapter, this arc will end in on chapter 300. The start to the arc will end, the end of the battle will happen in My Hero Academia 300, because I think that's gonna be the one chapter that's gonna be like, okay, this is gonna be a whole brand new series. Change is gonna be much more darker, much more grittier, and some of these characters here might not even be the same as they once were when we knew them, when the series first started off. So yeah, anyways guys, like I said, I'm gonna get out of here. Hit the subscribe button if you want to get more My Hero Academia content. Hit the notification button to be updated with any other uploads I put to the channel. So other than that guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya. Peace.